Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another cozy reading vlog. It's dark, it's cold, it's raining. I would say that is a recipe for me not leaving my house over the next couple of days and hopefully getting some incredible reading in. This reading vlog in particular, I'm super excited about because I'm actually going to be reading one of my most anticipated fantasy releases of the year by one of my favorite authors. So I'm really hoping, what do you think, Clay? So I'm really hoping, I love it so much and it possibly is like one of my favorite reads of 2025, but there's only one way to find out and that's by actually reading it. So without further ado, let's chat about the book I hope to read over the course of this vlog. So the book, very much at the center of my TBR for this video, is Grey Vampire by Richard Swan. This is the first book to a brand new series by this author. He previously wrote the Empire of the Wolf series, one of my all-time favorites. This is technically set in the same world, but it follows net new characters and a whole new age and era of this empire. So I don't really feel like you need to read one to read the other. One of the reasons why I love Richard Swan outside of his fantasy writing is that he often combines elements of horror into his books, and it just creates such a great reading experience. But it's 5:30. I finished up work for the day. I'm gonna head out for a long walk ahead of this cold front that's blowing in, and then I'm gonna put my pajamas on, eat up some leftovers, watch reality TV, Goblin, and obviously start my book. So welcome to the start of this vlog. Let's get oh so cozy together. Hi. I'm dressed like this because I'm about to go for a walk. Hello, Millie. And as I previously mentioned, it is cold outside. But my Nuuly just came in and I thought we could do a haul because y'all are my besties and I'm really excited about my picks this month. This is obviously not sponsored. I wish. I just love Nuuly. Okay, so the first thing I got, which is so good, is this quilted jacket that's reversible. So it could also be this red gingham print. I've had this in my closet for forever and I finally got it. I also got this short sleeve polo shirt because I am a polo person, like not literally polo playing, but like I love polo shirts. I got this cardigan, so cute. They have lots of colors of this one, but I went with the mustard. Springy cashmere cardigan. Definitely not the weather for this at the moment, but surely by next week, I imagine, because it's Texas. Then I got this Yeehaw cardigan, business in the front, party in the back, horse girl energy. And as I've already established, big polo girl, so I got this cropped sweatshirt. I know this is kind of like a boring pick from a Nuuly point of view, but I'm trying to, I buy too many, like I own so many sweatshirts and my favorite thing to buy is sweatshirts. So to curb that desire, I rent sweatshirts now. And I feel like I'll probably wear this the most out of everything I rented, and I'll secretly want to buy it at the end, but I'm not gonna let myself do that. I'm just gonna rent it and enjoy it. So that's my Nuuly haul. Time to go out on my walk. Making some Greek bowls for dinner. We got some veg. We got some couscous. I grilled some chicken yesterday, pre-cold front. I got some salad, feta yogurt sauce, hummus. Cooking snack, obviously. Now we construct. Cozy vibes. I love this faux fireplace addition in my room. 10 out of 10. I do need to deal with all that stuff over there, but just ignore it for now. I will not lie, I did watch a lot of reality television tonight, but I'm sitting down now to start Grey Vampire, which I am really excited about. We'll see how far I get tonight before inevitably falling asleep. It is about 530-ish pages, so I do need to get to it, because I would like to read this relatively quickly. My reading month back to accumulating, you know? So, we're reading now. Good morning, everyone. I definitely owe y'all a reading update. Also, so viciously cold outside, I will not be going out there. Good girl. Millie has her priorities straight. Hello, I'm up and at 'em this morning wearing my new Nuuly sweater. It's so cute. I'm so jazzed with this rental this month. But I wanted to do an update of Grey Vampire by Richard Swan because I am acutely obsessed with this book, which I'm so happy to say. Like, I am so excited to sit down and read more of this book later, but I've quickly read about 75 pages of this and it's giving epic fantasy and it's giving eerie horror, what is in the woods vibes. So this is actually a multi-POV fantasy book, but I would say we kind of have two primary main characters with other perspectives sort of sprinkled in. The previous series by Richard Swan was primarily one perspective and also written reflectively, like we're reading someone's journal. This has letter writing and correspondence and even journaling, which I really appreciate that he sort of kept that consistent element of his writing in his books, allowing characters to sort of reflect and express their feelings sort of directly via their writing. Obviously it's used as a tool to sort of directly address the reader, but obviously they're writing letters or personal journal entries. But I like that we have more than one main character we're sort of getting this experience from. This is set in an empire that's sort of in an industrious sort of situation, but they're also in a perilous situation because one, the empire has been ruling for a long time. They're surrounded by other empires that seemingly have supernatural connections. Like there's references to like mermen and wereman and kind of vampire-esque creatures, but like in vague terms. Like I don't really know exactly the vibes of what that means, but it appears that there's magical things happening in other places, just not in our empire because it is outlawed. Like any type of religion and magic, outlawed. This empire has also been embroiled in many conflicts, so there's lots of border skirmishes. There's also a plague that's breaking out in other places that are possibly spreading, and the empire is trying to keep a lot of this like hush hush because they don't want to cause unrest, let's say, more than that there already is. We're following, again, two primary main characters. The first is Peter, and poor Peter, who is a younger son of a very rich family. His family, like many well-to-do families in history and time and in fantasy novels, bought him a like position within the military, which he's supposed to just do for a few years, come back to the capital, sell it, and go on his merry way. Well, his posting is not the greatest because his family didn't want to like splash out for a really good posting. So he finds himself on the edge of the empire in this faraway fort. And not only is this fort really remote, it's also quite depressing. It's very dreary, it's very wet. And also is surrounded by apparent unseen monsters that haunt the woods around it. Everyone is haunted by bad dreams, wailing, crying in the night, people mysteriously disappear, and now Peter is just trying to figure out what is going on. He's way over his head. He's also in like an elevated position in the military that he obviously didn't earn because his family just bought it for him. So he's like trying to do his job, but like he's like 20, you know, like who wants to listen to him? And now he's set off into the wilderness in a sort of like expedition to try to figure out maybe like what's in the forest and like other responsibilities. So let's just say it's spooky and Peter way over his head. And so it has like a great balance of like, kind of you're rooting for Peter even though he's like incompetent, and it's like scary. Like what is in the woods? I do not know. And then we also follow our other main character, Renata, who is a low-ranking ambassador, and she has never really had the opportunity to flex her knowledge like in person. She's always sort of been behind a desk, but she loves other cultures, particularly the Merman culture. She speaks their language and all of these things, and she is basically pulled for an unexpected expedition to go to this place because something very dangerous is happening in the magical realm, let's say, and they think the Mermen might have some answers to help them. So it's all very perilous, very dangerous, and there's just a consistent air of like spooky horror, which is sort of infusing the entire narrative, which is working so well. What I like though about Richard Swan is that I feel like his settings and his plots, spooky, scary, but his characters that he sort of centers are like very endearing, very young, very hopeful, and they're super easy to root for, and they're like good people. They have their flaws, but they're like, you love them, you know what I mean? Kind of separate from, let's say, like a Joe Abercrombie, which characters who you also love are like also like kind of bad people. Like I would say Richard Swan's characters, great people in tough situations. They might be complex, they're not like perfect, but you very much are endeared to them rather quickly. And that is definitely the case with Peter and Renata. And so they're both on quests that are appearing to be perilous, quite quickly. There seems to be lots of secrets this empire is keeping. We've got plagues, we've got monsters, we've got supernatural figures, we've got maybe stuff happening in the underworld, we've got mysterious monsters creeping through the night, and I am hooked and I can't wait to read more. So that's my reading update. So far, so fantastic. I really feel pretty strongly so far that you don't need the context of the other series to read this one. I think there's some really fun Easter eggs, but there isn't necessarily like major spoilers from one from the other, like so far anyway. Anyway, gonna keep reading, but that's my first reading update. We're off to a fantastic start. Another day, another massive batch of miso soup. I hyperfixate hard on meals, okay? It is so cold outside, I'm refusing to function, basically. So I'm not cooking tonight. I cooked last night, the night before, I made breakfast, I made lunch. I just don't want to. We typically eat out on the weekends, but sometimes we'll sub it in the middle of the week if we need like a Hail Mary save, and that's what we're doing today, which is great. And I'm starting a new K-drama, which I shouldn't do because I'm in the middle of Love Scout, which I'm loving. I'm in the middle of Goblin, which I'm watching with Clay, which we're loving. I'm also in the middle of My Demon, which I'm liking. But a new K-drama featuring the lead actress True Beauty started airing, and I just love chaos and I love the setup and I love her. So I'm starting it. No one can stop me. Look at these vibes. This is like 10 out of 10. Scrumptious. Good morning. Let's do a reading sprint together, shall we? This book is so good, but also like a little difficult to read at night because I get scared, like a little scared. If this was a movie, I'd be way more scared. Is anyone like, I have a higher tolerance for horror in books than I do in movies. I think because you can't really jump scare me in books most of the time. Hi everyone, let's do a reading update because I am officially obsessed with this book. I have read about 175 pages of this and I cannot put it down. It's disturbing, it's creeping. The feeling of unease has been such a satisfying, like gradual build. Our two primary perspectives I'm obsessed with, and like still the author, while completely creeping and freaking me out, I'm still like endeared. Like it has such a good balance of like great character work, still moments of not necessarily levity, but like moments of like you really like the characters, and then also some seriously creepy elements. Like I also really appreciate the different jobs and positions some of our characters are in. Obviously Peter's in the military, so there is like some really interesting military storylines with that, like clear commentary on the political reality of this landscape, these scrimmages, the conflict that is happening at these sort of border situations, criticism of, you know, the empire's like expansion and its subjugation of other lands, like all of these things. Peter, it's like kind of ineptitude, but also him attempting his best in various situations is like great, while also there being this horror element of like monsters and something creepy in the woods, and that sort of escalation is happening. And you see this feeling applied to all of our perspectives because we also have Renata, who is on this journey with her boss, who is an ambassador, and she specializes obviously in this particular cultural group. She's traveling alongside two monks who come from another land who also have ties to magic, and there's like a little bit of conflict because they are from different places, and you know, they're more critical of Renata's country, which is also really valid because again, they're an empire who takes over other lands and like forces their social and religious perspectives onto them. Again, so much of Richard Swan's stories are clearly inspired by real history, and you see the influence and care of like his world building in that. Like it feels so tangible, and like I'm just really obsessed with like how he writes and how he creates his worlds, and it's just like so good. Renata is a really likable character, but she also is sheltered. She's never left the city in which she has lived in ever. She has maybe studied other cultures, but she's never really experienced them firsthand, and now I feel like she's sort of starting to get a taste of what the world is like outside of what she's always known. And also like some really scary, haunting stuff that's kind of following her crew as well. Because again, she's traveling with her boss, she's traveling with a like small group of soldiers who were sent by the Empress, she's traveling with these two monks who basically brought this sort of earth-shattering information which created the need to go out on this quest. And she's also traveling with this engineer character who, this empire doesn't have magic. It has been outlawed, but there's this group of engineers who are allowed to sort of maintain wards and kind of work a little bit alongside magic. Anyway, this character is so funny. Like the character dynamics are hilarious and interesting, and also I'm horrified and scared, and like I feel this sense of unease. And so like the amount of feelings I feel like the author is creating in me and keeping my interest is like so good. Like I love the character work, I love the world building, I love the setting of this fantasy book and story, and I also am like love the horror elements. I almost feel like the horror elements for this series have started a lot sooner. There was horror elements in his other trilogy, but I feel like that was kind of like a slow progression, and then all at once we had all this religious horror. But the unease and the monster talk is pretty much immediately happening in this, and I feel like it's such a great combination of things that has me on the edge of my seat, and I'm like, ooh, spooked out, but so good. And also because we have this sort of like monster question, we have like multiple mysteries at play that are really pushing us through the story. Like I want to know what in the heck is happening, and it's scary, you know? And it's just so good. So I've just had a blast reading this. I can't wait to read more, but I do need to move on with my day, and I'm gonna make some breakfast now. We'll make it together. But I'm loving Grey Vampire. I'm loving it. It's giving spooky scary. It's breakfast time, and y'all already know I make the same thing for breakfast every single day for like 2 months. And I'm still not sick of it. And I actually don't know if I ever will be, because I am kind of someone who can eat the same breakfast every day. My other meals need to be more varied, but breakfast, I fear it can be the exact same. So it might be for the rest of time, AKA yogurt bowl. I do love this raspberry jam. It's made by monks in Massachusetts. Shout out to them. I don't know if they're watching. Raspberries. Bon appetit. I made a little roasted Brussels sprout, sweet potatoes, strawberry feta, balsamic salad for lunch, so that should be pretty good.
I think Matilda agrees.
It's 20 degrees outside, so obviously we're making some soup. So let's get all the necessary things. And just like that, my tortellini soup is complete. I'm so excited to try this new recipe for this household. I wish I had some like crostini, but whatever, this will still be delicious.
어디서부터 어떻게 시작을 해야 할까? 나도 한 번도 얘기해 본 적 없는 얘기라 소금 좀.
Good morning, friends. We're sitting down to read Grave Empire. I made some decent headway in this book, and good news, I'm still really loving this sort of combination of horror and fantasy. I think it's so effective so far. I'm gonna lock in now and try to get some serious reading in though, because I've been distracted. Mostly by Goblin, because we are kind of approaching the end sequence of the show. And I remember enjoying that show, but I've also forgotten a lot, so a lot of it's a surprise. So Clay and I are both locked in. And I fear we're probably gonna watch a lot of that over the next couple days, which honestly sounds great. But I have my cup of coffee. Cheers. And we are gonna read Grave Empire, which I'm also loving. I gotta lock into that too. Hello. Good morning, everyone. I know I literally just said I could eat the same breakfast every day, but pivot for breakfast this morning because Clay and I decided to treat ourselves to little smoothie bowls. Clay got an acai, I got my favorite smoothie just put in a bowl with fruit on top. Scrumptious. I've also been reading Grave Empire by Richard Swan, and I've passed the 400-page mark. I cannot emphasize enough how much I'm loving this book. The plotting has unbelievably picked up. Like the pacing, I really feel like has been perfect. I was pulled in the beginning, there was intensity from the start, there was a feeling of unease from the start, but now obviously as we're moving into the end sequence, like it just feels like it's become rapid, and like every single disparate storyline I'm so intrigued by. And I also love that we have these like different jutting off points to follow, because it allows us to be in multiple places at once and be committed to multiple characters. And obviously once perspective shift, you're kind of left on all these like mini cliffhangers throughout the book, and it's just so unbelievably engaging. I also do not understand how Richard Swan has become my favorite minor romantic subplot writer. Like, this man must love a historical romance, because like he has the most disturbing horror fantasy plot lines, but then he has some of the most well-paced subtle romances that he does not rush at all, that like I love. And I very rarely say I love a man's romance, particularly in fantasy writing, but like there has been the most subtlest of hints at a romance, and I could even be wrong. Like my interpretation could be wrong, but like that's my favorite kind of romantic subplot line, where it's the barest hint of a possibility that I get to watch unfold over the course of a series, which I feel like that could be what he's doing. He also did it in his last one, and I also loved it. Like these are not romances, but if you want like the most minor romantic subplot line, because it's just part of like characterization and like his character arcs that he does amongst all of his interesting character connections, also read his books. I don't know, he's got me on the edge of my seat for so many different reasons. And like, I'm also really obsessed with this world. I would say you don't have to read the first trilogy to read this. There are maybe minor spoilers in the way that like the first series is a prequel and this obviously takes place after, so there is historical context that is a part of the world building of this book, but I wouldn't say that they are referencing each other like very heavily at all. But if you don't want any spoilers to anything, read The Empire of the Wolf first. But this is great, and the world is so interesting, and like how it's changed and evolved, and the different magical elements and the different humanoid species and empires that are at play too is like really, 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 really cool. I'm just like fully obsessed with this. I feel very strongly. I have 100 pages left, but this definitely is feeling like a 5 out of 5 star read for me. But I need to eat my smoothie bowl now before it melts, so if you'll excuse me. Anthropologie was having a sale, so I treated myself to a new candle. So let's unveil it together. A little springtime candle on this very cold and very gloomy day. But I also just loved the container. I thought it was so pretty. So let's light her up. My little random matchstick thing, I stuck a like striker paper on the bottom. It sometimes works. Oh, sorry.
Cute.
Very cozy in this room, if I do say so myself. But I'm gonna sit down and do a little more reading, but I'm actually about to head out to go meet a friend for dinner. I'm braving the cold and I'm socializing. Personally, quite proud of myself because the front room of my house is looking oh so cozy right now, and the thought of leaving it, not great. But I never regret socializing, but leaving your house is so hard. Personally, it's personally hard. But I'm excited about dinner because it's a delicious spot. So there's that. But like, look how cozy this room looks. It's a perfect room ambiance to be scared out of my mind reading a Richard Swan novel. But I'm gonna finish it definitely tonight and obviously wrap up this vlog tomorrow. But I am excited. Hi everyone, and welcome to the end of the vlog the next day. I'm so happy to report I finished Grave Empire by Richard Swan, and this was an easy 5 out of 5 star read for me. I quite literally liked every single thing about this book. From the overall concept and idea to the execution, I felt like the characters, the pacing, the writing style, the world building, just like every element of this, I just thought was literally incredible. I could not put it down. I was on the edge of my seat. It's almost odd to feel like you're reading a book with like no complaints. I was interested every single step of the way. There was no part of this book where I thought, oh, like I wish this would pick up or I wish this would slow down. I felt like the pacing and the way the author pulled me in slowly turned up the heat, and then the full boil of the plot of this book at the end was just fantastic. I love Richard Swan's writing style. I feel like it has a great blend of like introspective characters, really interesting and dynamic characters you can root for. He's great at action sequences, and the horror that he's able to put together in his books are just so good. And in particular, I love how his horror has like a religious horror flavor to it. Using historical references to sort of fuel his concepts is just so good. It's like spooky, it's scary, it's creative, it's interesting, and using like the geopolitical reality of this age that this book is set in to also like spur this stuff on was just amazing. I loved all the different storylines we followed. I was completely freaked out. I loved the characters I was supposed to love. I hated the characters I was supposed to hate. I was just like on the edge of my seat. Like, I adored this book through and through. It was fantastic. I had a feeling I was gonna really, really like this, but even still, I feel like Richard Swan exceeded my expectations. I just really, 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 really enjoyed this. 10 out of 10. Would change nothing about this. Probably will be one of my favorite books of the year. I just love Richard Swan's writing. I just feel like every element of his writing I enjoy, and it works for me. Like, again, even like his romantic subplot lines, like I am on the edge of my seat for. I am obsessed with them. Just like everything he does vibes with me. I love his books so much. Like, he is gotta be like one of my favorite fantasy authors, like officially now. I've read 4 books of his and I've given all of them 5 out of 5 stars with very little, if any, complaints while picking them up. Just like what he does is by definition the fantasy I enjoy. 10 out of 10. And you don't need to read the Empire of the Wolf series, though you should read that series because that series is also incredible, but these feel like very separate things. Oh my god, it was just amazing. I'm so happy that it was so good. But I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog, and I will see you again soon with another one soon. Goodbye.